We are following breaking news here at CBS 6 News. Word comes that the suspected Boston bomber Tamerlan Tsarnaev has been buried in Caroline County in Doswell, to be specific. Our Greg McQuaid is on site there to tell us what we know so far. Greg?
Well, Cheryl, apparently the long and controversial journey of one of the Boston Marathon bombing suspects ends here in Caroline County, specifically Doswell. We spoke with Imam Ammar Amanet with the Islamic Center of Virginia, and he confirms that Tamerlan Tsarnaev, one of the Boston Marathon bombing suspects, is buried here at the Al Barzakh Cemetery in Doswell. This is the first Muslim cemetery in central Virginia. CBS 6, we did speak with the Imam, and he says the Islamic Center of Virginia was not consulted before the burial. The cemetery sits just 1 mile from the state fairgrounds and birthplace of Secretariat. The burial apparently took place late last night after the body was removed from Worcester, Massachusetts, at a funeral home there. The burial ends a firestorm of controversy in Massachusetts after folks protested after a proposal to bury him there in the Bay State. Now, I counted 50 graves at this cemetery, and there are some fresh graves dug. We see a member of the media right there and 2 sheriff's deputies looking at it. The Imam Amanet with the Islamic Center of Virginia says he is angry because he was not consulted on the decision, and that's going to affect many people here in central Virginia. We also spoke with Sheriff Tony Lippa of Caroline County. He says if it is true that the bombing suspect was buried here in Doswell, he was not consulted. We are working on this story to uncover all of the details for you, and as soon as we learn them, we will pass them on to you on air and online at WTVR.com. Reporting live in Doswell in Caroline County, I'm Greg McQuaid, CBS 6 News. Cheryl will send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Greg. And Greg mentioned Ammar Amanet confirming this information for us. We do have a statement from him to hear right now.
This information from reporters, so we just called to confirm it. And of course, we were not given any information. We knew nothing about it, and nobody cared to consult with us or ask us our opinion or anything. So it was a total surprise and shock to us. Most people don't know about it. It's a small place. We do know about it, and we do know people who were buried there. But like I said, it's a small private location.
And again, that is Ammar Amanet as we follow breaking news out of Caroline County that suspected Boston bomber Tamerlan Tsarnaev's body was buried in this small Muslim cemetery in Doswell late last night. As Greg pointed out, this is just about a mile from the Virginia State Fairgrounds. We, of course, will continue gathering information on this breaking news and continue to update this story on WTVR.com and here on CBS 6 News.
It caught all of us off guard. It's become a public safety issue now. I mean, that's it.
Now on CBS 6 News at 6, continuing coverage of breaking news from Caroline County. Boston bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev buried in our area. I'm Stephanie Rochon.
And I'm Bill Fitzgerald. CBS 6 News was the first on the scene of Al Barzakh Cemetery, a small burial ground not far from King's Dominion. The decision to bury Tsarnaev there has outraged many, including the local Muslim community. Sandra Jones has that part of the coverage.
First, Greg McQuaid is in Caroline County, and Greg, county leaders and the sheriff say they were not told about this burial.
No, they were not. No one was really comprised of this burial, if in fact it did happen late last night or earlier today. Caroline County, it's the home to the State Fair of Virginia, the birthplace of Secretariat, and now it may be the final resting place of a Boston Marathon bombing suspect, and neighbors are not pleased.
The man is a criminal. He did a criminal act against innocent people.
The long and controversial journey of a Boston Marathon bombing suspect ends in central Virginia.
As cowards, they're cowards. That's all it is. Terrorists are cowards.
It's kind of crazy for that to be right here when it happened so far away. And he come way down here.
Tamerlan Tsarnaev's remains were reportedly buried at Al Barzakh Cemetery in Doswell late Thursday or early Friday morning, much to the dismay of neighbors like Jeff Goodall.
He killed American people. I think it should be thrown over to sea like bin Laden.
The small Muslim cemetery with about 50 graves sits off Sadie Lane Road within eyesight of King's Dominion. The news blindsided Caroline Sheriff and other county leaders.
First of all, the county was, one, not consulted on this particular issue. The county was not aware of this coming forward, and most importantly, the county did not provide any permission.
The Board of Supervisors chairman says they are trying to confirm that the burial took place and if it was done legally.
If it was followed legally, there's very little the county can do in this instance.
The question of where the Boston bombing suspect would be buried ends a firestorm of controversy in Massachusetts, but sparks a new one in Central Virginia.
Because our neighborhood probably bad, so bad, you gonna put a criminal in there, bury him? No, we gotta go.
I can't believe they just slipped it in here and no notice to anybody. Burn him and send him back.
CBS 6 did obtain a copy of Tamerlan Tsarnaev's death certificate, and it does say that he was in fact buried here in Caroline County. Gene Pleasance, one of the neighbors that lives next door to that Muslim cemetery, says he would like to start a petition among all of his neighbors to actually have Tsarnaev's body removed. But county leaders are saying that if that burial was done legally, the neighbors probably have no legal recourse. Reporting live in Caroline County, I'm Greg McQuaid, CBS 6 News. We'll send it back to you.
Greg, we have more from county leaders. A short time ago, Caroline's county administrator sent us this statement. He says he learned of the selection of the burial site through the media. We would prefer to be associated with positive news, he goes on to say. So who did know Tsarnaev's body would be buried in our area? As Sandra Jones tells us, local Islamic leaders say they were not consulted either. Sandra's live in the newsroom with that part of our coverage. And Sandra, they're pretty angry too.
Angry, and there's disbelief, Stephanie. That's how many Muslims say they feel over the situation. They tell us they were caught off guard and believe someone should have consulted them first because they know other Muslims who are buried in that same cemetery. At the Islamic Center of Virginia, people of the Muslim faith gather at the Chesterfield Mosque for their weekly prayer service.
May he not disgrace us.
While it's a time of reflection and worship for this community,
it was devastating. Islam does not endorse in any way this kind of violence.
News that one of the two suspects tied to the Boston Marathon terror attacks, now buried in the Commonwealth, is stirring up emotions.
We're upset because something like this affects everyone.
Imam Amar Aminet heads up the center. He says no one ever notified him about the burial arrangements for Tamerlan Tsarnaev at a Muslim cemetery in Caroline County, or the woman who reportedly paid for the plot.
We're impacted in a negative way when individuals decide to do things on their own, and people associate them with us.
According to Aminet, practicing Muslims are generally buried in the place where they die, adding that the Boston bombing suspect has no connection to Caroline County. Where do you think he should be buried?
In the place where it happened, or a place that has something to do with his family or his country where he came from.
But for other Muslims here, they worry Friday's developments could mean backlash in their community.
I feel guilty by association, and this is not what the religion is all about.
Now, one Muslim we spoke with says that Tsarnaev should have been buried in the sea, like Osama bin Laden, because he considers the bombing suspect to be a terrorist too. And he, like others in the Muslim community, say they will lean on their faith to get through this latest controversy. I'm Sandra Jones, CBS 6 News. Back to you.
It's hard because you know it's like battling yourself. It eats at you in a way that, I mean, it's like its own cancer.
He has won championships at every level of competition: high school, college, and professionally. And he's carried a secret each step of the way.
I found my key.
Kevin Grayson is one of the most decorated football players Central Virginia has ever seen. And he happens to be gay.
People didn't believe it because I was an athlete. They're like, Kevin plays football, he runs track, he does basketball. Like, no way, you know? And those are the type of things where I say, you know, if I could go back and say, well, why can't I be an athlete? You know, why can't I be a star player? Why can't I be, you know, the guy making plays that helps my team win? And still, you know, on the flip side, be a gay male.
Grayson was named All-District and All-Region while playing both offense and defense at L.C. Byrd High in Chesterfield. In college, he helped the Richmond Spiders win the national title in 2008.
Flea flicker. Ward wants it all with Grayson. Pulls it in. Touchdown.
And while playing professionally last year in Italy, he was named MVP of his league's Super Bowl. But his sexuality remained hidden from many of his coaches and all but a handful of trusted teammates, largely because of the culture that exists in America's favorite sport.
Do you think there are gay players in the NFL right now?
No doubt.
Do you know any?
Do. I've known some. I've met some, but it's kind of one of those things when you meet someone and you find out about something, it's one of those things it's kind of you take to the grave type thing.
You probably heard just about everything in the book from people who had no idea.
And it's just watching film. You know, it's like, stop being a princess, stop being a faggot, you know, homo. While you're in the football aspect of it, you know, no one's really thinking about it. Hyper-masculine sport, you know, you have coaches that are just kind of, I guess, naive to the fact that they could have a gay player in their meeting.
Kevin Grayson, che riporta in touchdowns.
A couple times I laughed at it. You know, I thought it was funny to think about whether or not if I told this coach, what would they say?
She's got them sharp teeth too.
But it never really crossed Grayson's mind to come out before now. Not because he was embarrassed, but because his focus was on school and football, and any distraction would have put a spotlight on the entire team, one that Grayson wasn't willing to shine.
You don't want to be the focus in that way. Not to say that it's a negative, but when you have people just asking questions about, you know, your sexuality and how teammates are taking it, it takes away from the importance of the preseason. If you are an athlete, you want to be an athlete. You want to be known for what you've done on the basketball court, football field, tennis court, whatever. You don't want to be that person who it's always the gay athlete.
It's an intense burden, and it's a huge burden for people.
Dr. Leticia Flores is a clinical psychologist at VCU, specializing in issues of sexual and gender identity. She explained that some gays and lesbians spend much of their day trying to remember who might know about their sexuality, trying to guess how their friends, family, and co-workers might react. For athletes, and male athletes particularly, the stress can be compounded by society's perception of how they are supposed to behave.
Male athletes are seen to be very masculine, very macho, a guy's guy. And people's stereotypes or biases about gay men is that they are the opposite of a guy's guy.
It's that extra pressure that you can't even remotely show something that would lead someone to suspect you. So it makes it 10 times harder.
Some of that pressure was relieved when Grayson chose to confide in a few trusted teammates, some of whom he found out were also gay, and none of which shunned or turned their back on him. Now he is sharing his story with everyone, not only for the release for himself, but to hopefully inspire others hiding behind one too many masks.
There's clearly a relief, and that relief comes from finally being themselves. And we call it, in the psych jargon, being authentic. But you're who you are, and you don't have to wear the mask anymore.
It's like the biggest weight lifted off your shoulder, to know that you have a teammate that, you know, basically says, I don't care. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you can't be the athlete you want to be. Doesn't mean you can't be a star. Doesn't mean you can't go out there and go just as hard as anybody else, if not harder.
How are you, sir?
Lunchtime at 12th and Marshall.
With everything on it, correct?
Yes, sir. Can be a dizzying deluge of orders.
Spinach?
Tomato.
Feeding the hungry masses.
What about the hot sauce?
Hour.
No hot sauce, huh?
After hour.
Have a wonderful day.
A human conveyor belt.
Just spicy and the jalapeno?
Turning out hundreds.
Enjoy your lunch.
Of his signature wraps.
So it's been a while since I haven't seen you. I know.
It's a routine Tico Sanchez.
So what is it, you don't like hot sauce?
Has been perfecting at this spot.
That's the best part of the sandwich.
Since 1996.
It is hot.
Yeah, this is hot.
Tico serves his loyal customers.
Wow, this is so good.
With a smile.
Ladies.
You may think after 17 years, Tico would tire of his daily dance.
Everything on it?
But he couldn't picture himself anywhere else.
You ever tried the jalapeno dressing?
In fact, this is the life he dreamed of long ago. In a much different place.
United States.
Born under the heavy hand of Fidel Castro's communist Cuba, Tico says his prospects of a thriving, independent life there were slim.
You want to have a dream? You got to get out of Cuba.
For years, he yearned for a better existence over the horizon.
What is the point to live in a country that I can even be able to have the freedom to speak?
But he realized trying to escape his homeland could mean decades in prison or even death.
The only way that you disappear is when you try to intend to leave the country.
Tico was willing to take the chance and risk everything.
I decided to say, enough, I'm out of here.
But that would mean leaving his loved ones and what little he had behind. Tico would follow in his younger brother Kenny's wake, who at 17 attempted swimming to the U.S. military base in Guantanamo Bay, several miles away. One evening in early February of 1994, a 23-year-old Tico tells his mother he's leaving to visit relatives. He would not return.
I was committed. For the moment that I left my mother's house, I was on a mission. I exactly knew what I wanted to do.
Tico could not tell his parents his intentions. If they knew, his mother and father could be jailed. Tico and a cousin reached the coast heavily patrolled by Cuban soldiers. He doesn't hesitate. It's now or never.
We jumped in the water and we started swimming.
Plunging into the unknown wearing nothing but shorts. There's no turning back.
Once I'm in the water, I knew I was free. Nobody can stop me.
Defectors before him attempt this very journey. Some with success, others simply vanish. Tico battles stormy swells, driving rains, and increasing doubt.
I was not going to be able to make it. I didn't have the strength to continue swimming.
Tico's heart races, eluding the Cuban Navy and inching closer to freedom. Thoughts of his brother Kenny help sustain him during his darkest hours.
That was the whole thing that I was thinking about.
Finally, after more than 2 days in the water and nearly 7 watery miles, an exhausted but exhilarated Tico reaches the fortified U.S. base.
It's like giving a little candy to a kid. You're so excited about it.
Following 4 days of interrogation by U.S. Marines and another 18 days in a cell, the Cuban defector seeking political asylum is flown to Miami.
I knew they got to do something with me, but not taking me back to Cuba.
So, just how far did Tico travel in the water? It's like swimming the distance between Churchill and Richmond, all the way to Willow Lawn in Henrico County. By chance, the same federal agent who processes Tico registered his brother 6 months prior. He learns Kenny is living in Richmond.
Oh, that was a miracle.
Everything changed. Everything.
Through Catholic Charities, the brothers are reunited at the home of Nina and Frank Lemming.
I mean, it was just unreal.
Foster parents to more than 30 children.
We cried, we hug each other. To me, my brother is a hero.
It was amazing.
As their new American mom and dad,
we just were there to guide them and help them.
The Lemmings would leave a deep impact on the Sanchez brothers. While carving out their new identities, Tico and Kenny would always remember their roots.
The decision to leave, it was to help my family.
The brothers would swear their allegiance and become U.S. citizens.
I'm the lucky man alive. I'm very lucky.
Eventually, after 10 years and piles of legal red tape, their parents were allowed to join Tico and Ken in a tearful reunion in 2003.
I never lost hope that I would see my 2 sons again. It was the most exciting moment of my life, being reunited as a family.
The Sanchez brothers are not squandering their opportunities. Jobs in construction would lead to a career in food carts and eventually Cuban cuisine.
The chicken chunk is marinated.
Recently, the proud siblings opened Kentico Grill, an eatery.
Your hot sauce will be out in a second, man.
On Richmond's Gray Street.
Bye. Bye, ladies. It's not easy. It's hard.
The brothers Sanchez living proof the American dream
Yeah, don't worry about it.
does exist.
If you have something that you want to do, you can do it. I believe we did it. Anybody can do it.
Thank you.
You can see the fruits of their labor on display every weekday.
Hey, what's up, man?
Fittingly, along Richmond's Liberty Trail.
Everything that I have in my life right now is exactly where I want in this moment. I'm very happy with my life.
The last bag.
Stop by for a bite.
The jalapenos.
It's the food cart.
Yeah, this one's really good.
Where freedom
I contribute the spinach.
has never tasted so good.
Thank you very much. You have a great day, sir.
Earning a doctoral degree is an esteemed accomplishment. It changes the way people address you. They call you doctor for the rest of your life. One of Richmond's newly elected school board members goes by that title. But does she have the degree to back it up?
It is really your duty and your responsibility to hold us accountable.
Shonda Harris Muhammad ran unopposed for her Richmond school board seat last November, but not without a passionate campaign that promoted transparency and leadership.
No one is safe at this point. Everyone has to be reviewed. Everyone has to be looked at because that's why we were voted.
Her campaign website describes her many years of teaching experience, her commitment to children, and her own education credentials. But recently we discovered some inconsistencies in those credentials, specifically when it comes to Harris Muhammad's doctoral degree. Harris Muhammad is referred to as a doctor by her colleagues on the school board. In fact, on the Richmond Public Schools website, she's noted as such. It's also noted on name placards that identify her at public meetings in her elected capacity. Harris Muhammad's official campaign website states that in 2011, she earned a PhD from Walden University, an accredited online school based in Minneapolis. Her LinkedIn and Facebook pages say that she earned an EDD, or a Doctorate of Education, from Walden in 2011. However, an online newsletter from December of 2012 stated she was currently enrolled in a doctoral program. So we contacted Walden University to clear up all the conflicting information. The Walden registrar confirmed that Harris Muhammad had earned a master's degree from Walden in 2005, but then stated Shonda Harris Muhammad has not received any other degrees from Walden University. We asked for clarification. The school says that while they show previous enrollment in a PhD and EDD program, Harris Muhammad, quote, did not complete or conferred any doctoral program at Walden University. We took this information to Harris Muhammad. Where is the EDD from?
It is, I went through Walden University for my Doctorate of Education.
Okay. And that was a completed program?
Yes.
We shared the information that Walden had told us. They told us that the highest degree that you had there was a master's. They said that's what Walden said. They said the last degree they had on record was from 2005 when you got your master's there.
I've just completed my program in 2012 and I graduate this summer.
When we asked further about why there was no record of an earned degree, Harris Muhammad said it was being withheld due to outstanding tuition she owed the university. So you're saying once you pay your balance, you'll have your degree.
I will have the piece of paper that I would like to have once the balance is done.
We again contacted Walden University. We asked them to explain their policy on withholding degrees. The university explained to us that it is not their policy to withhold a degree because of an outstanding tuition balance. Walden says when a student completes a program, they automatically earn the degree. And it's reflected in the school's records. Outstanding tuition may prevent students from getting a physical diploma or transcript, but degrees are awarded regardless of any balance owed.
In anything that we do, we want to be open and transparent.
Even still, Richmond School Board Chair Jeff Bourne says this isn't a matter for the school board.
Well, I think that's a personal issue for Shonda, and she's she's going to deal with it, address it.
Bourne says there are no degree requirements to serve on the board.
What is a prerequisite is making sure that you're committed to making Richmond Public Schools the best that it can be.
Is honesty a prerequisite?
I think that's for the voters who elect the school board to decide.
Harris Muhammad told us after our interview Monday that she would provide us with an academic advisor from Walden University who could confirm her degree. We have yet to been contacted by anyone from Walden in regard to that matter. Additionally, it's worth noting on Tuesday that Harris Muhammad's official campaign site listed her as having a PhD from Walden in 2011. Today, that website changed, indicating an EDD from Walden in 2011. Again, Walden University tells CBS 6 News that neither degree has been bestowed on Harris Muhammad at this time. We'll continue to follow the story. Katie Beck, CBS 6 News.
Some Richmond Red Cross members are in Oklahoma right now helping with food and shelter.
We've also sent our chief meteorologist Zach Daniel there to help local news and weather crews with our sister station who've been overwhelmed. Tonight he's in a town about 35 miles outside Moore, a place that was hit by a tornado the day before the big EF5 touched down.
It's going to be starting over again. We're going to have to start over again.
Starting over. It's what thousands of Oklahomans are facing, not just in Moore, but in the small community of Bethel Acres.
The tornado that was in Moore was so devastating that I think everybody's kind of focusing on those areas when, you know, these people clearly need as much help as everybody else.
The stories here echo those from the Moore area.
This is my home, and it used to belong over there by the tree, and it's skidded over here. Not skidded. There's no skid marks. So it flew over here.
The tornado that hit Bethel Acres was a powerful EF4 twister with winds of nearly 200 miles per hour. It came from over this hill, moved through this community, destroying everything in its path, injuring dozens and leaving one person dead. That one, the best friend of Virgil T.
We heard someone got killed out here that drove a black car, and I said, I don't know, that's him. And they found him in the road, kind of all messed up.
And while nothing can ease the pain of losing a friend, there's no shortage of comfort around here.
We can help you. Yes.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So a friend of mine, I said, what are you doing this afternoon? And so I grabbed her and we came to help these people.
Strangers helping strangers, neighbors helping neighbors. That's the Oklahoma way.
Even though they're standing in front of their own home that's been destroyed, they're really worried about the guy next door, and I think that's just been incredible.
I'd really help you, but my knees are stiff. And
that's okay. That's what we came here to do, is to help you.
Very little can withstand this storm, but the spirit here remains rock solid.
They're showing patience and they're showing strength that I've personally never seen anywhere I've been before, and it's really inspiring.
Virgil values these blessings, from the helping hands right on down to the good home cooking.
I'm going to hate to see them go. I got used to their hamburgers.
But it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like this is what the Lord wants me to do.
From Bethel Acres, Oklahoma, I'm Chief Meteorologist Zach Daniel for CBS 6.
It's awesome.
So more than 7 million people have seen this guy, the Kung Fu Grandpa. Who is he, and what is he doing here?
My mom passed away and was going through some of the stuff, and I found an old wooden pair. And I started playing with them. First thing you know, I had nuts all over me. So my fiance bought me the foam ones. She takes her mom shopping wherever she needs to go, to the doctors and all that. Me and her, we like that. You know, she's my fiance and my best friend. So I go with her and I just find me a place somewhere in the parking lot where there's a little clear area where I can play. That's why I wear these glasses most of the times, for protection, because you can see where I caught myself here and I can feel it brush. They just come so close to your face.
You can see Tom Bell, a 52-year-old salesman, chucking in parks and parking lots all around town. It keeps him in great shape. Late last week, Pastor Amon Miller saw him working out on the Food Line parking lot at Perriman Brook Roads in North Richmond.
Immediately, when I come out of the store, he's chucking by my car, and I'm nervous. I'm like, oh man, is he the repo man? Do I owe him money? What's going on? I didn't know what. I've never seen that before. So I kind of tipped in my car, pulled around, and I kind of parked in here in this space, and I see him, and my first instinct is just grab my phone and stick it up above the dash and duck so he doesn't see me.
Get it, my man.
And he did it just like that. And see, he landed it just like he did. That's what he did the first time.
Faith, one baptism, 2 nunchucks. Up in the air like Mary Lou Retton. Pow, behind the back.
His video, with spontaneous commentary, went viral on YouTube. The two met formally today.
Hello, sir.
How you doing, Robert? Nice
How are you? Nice to meet you, man.
And the preacher brought a gift.
Yeah, made a shirt for him. It's just simple. If you drop one chuck, pick it back up and keep chucking.
That's what I do a lot.
The pastor's not the first to film Bell. Local filmmaker Lucas Cross made this video for a Super Bowl commercial contest by Doritos. It didn't air, but Pastor Miller believes it is worthy.
Hey, what's he doing?
A little Sunday check-in.
When his mom passed away, he was down. So he needed something to pick himself up. And he found it in this activity. And the whole thing of him dropping the chuck, in life we're gonna drop all kind of things. But the key is not to stay down with the thing that you dropped. Pick it up, get back to what you were doing.
In Richmond, Mark Holmberg, CBS 6 News.
We begin CBS 6 News at 11 with breaking developments in a story you've been following with us all day. The stabbing of State Senator Creigh Deeds and the death of his son and what police are investigating as an attempted murder-suicide. I'm Stephanie Rochon.
And I'm Bill Fitzgerald. Katie Beck is covering the mental health history of Gus Deeds, but we begin with Melissa Hippolyte, who spent the day in Bath County where it all happened. Melissa, what have you learned tonight?
Well, Bill, I spent much of today talking to a lot of people who know the Deeds family. Creigh Deeds really is beloved up in Bath County. I talked to friends of his. I talked to people whose children grew up with his son, Gus. They told me Gus was just an incredibly kind, nice kid who loved music and was very bright. I talked to one friend, asked them if they knew if the father and son were very close. He kind of hesitated for a moment and then said, well, they did have one thing in common. They have a similar personality where they're really good with people. I talked to another family friend who told me he'd really noticed a change in Gus ever since he went off to college. This is the road Senator Creigh Deeds stumbled down after being stabbed multiple times by his son Gus.
Mr. Deeds exited the premises.
Incredibly, Deeds' cousin happened to be heading out on a hunting expedition at that very moment and spotted Deeds. A close family friend who didn't want to be identified told CBS 6 the cousin brought Deeds to his home where his wife, a nurse, stopped the bleeding.
We had 2 helicopters on standby, one which was utilized and took Mr. Deeds out, and one that was sent back.
The Bath County Sheriff would not comment on the investigation inside the Deeds home, but did say the crime scene is big.
It's a wide crime scene, let's just leave it at that.
Sheriff Robert Plecker also confirmed his deputies went to the Deeds home on Monday, but he declined to say why.
I don't want to get into the nature of the call right now, but it was not an E911 call.
The family friend we spoke with told us the family wanted Gus committed to a mental institution. He said there were obvious signs of mental issues after Gus went to college. The friend, along with Sheriff Plecker, both described Gus as an incredibly nice kid.
Top-notch student, couldn't ask for a better kid.
Now this investigation continues tonight. The sheriff in Bath County told me he plans to be out there again tomorrow morning to do more work on this investigation. Meanwhile, here in Charlottesville, at last we heard Creigh Deeds is in fair condition tonight. I called the hospital to try to get an update, and they told me no further information would be available at this time. Reporting live in Charlottesville tonight, Melissa Hippolyte, CBS 6 News.
Thank you, Melissa. And as you heard Melissa mention, mental health issues may have played a role in what happened this morning. Tonight, Katie Beck spoke with the facility that evaluated Gus Deeds just yesterday.
They explained how a state law may be responsible for him being sent home instead of getting care. She investigates all new at 11. Katie?
To get some more perspective, we spoke to a local sheriff who explained to us some of the challenges they face with trying to get mental health patients the long-term help they need. After they've been ordered to have an evaluation, sometimes authorities are in a race against time. As tragic truths come to light about what happened inside the home of Senator Creigh Deeds Tuesday morning, a new focus centers in on mental illness. Published reports indicate that Deed's son Gus was recently served with an emergency custody order, meaning his behavior indicated he was a danger to himself and others and was ordered to have a mental evaluation.
Sometimes we can guard people 10 or 12 hours before they find a bed for them.
Henrico Sheriff Mike Wade often sees folks in situations like Deed's who end up in the custody of his deputies. He says it's a tricky situation because legally authorities only have 4 hours to evaluate someone and, if needed, place them in a facility before that person is free to walk away.
You know, you're really stuck with violating the law because the law says you can only hold them for 4 hours.
We contacted Rockbridge Area Community Services Facility in Lexington, Virginia. That's where it's believed Gus Deeds was evaluated. The executive director first expressed his condolences to the Deeds family. We then asked if a bed shortage could have been why Gus Deeds was sent home. The director wouldn't give specifics, but did offer an explanation for the 4-hour rule. He said, within those 4 hours, if a mental health professional determines they need a psychiatric bed space, they have to use those same 4 hours to locate a receiving facility. In certain conditions, a 2-hour extension is granted by a magistrate, but under no circumstances can a person be held beyond 6 hours involuntarily under an ECO.
Wade says certainly across the state of Virginia, there is a shortage of mental health resources available for folks. He says his own deputies will often drive several hours to transport someone with mental health issues to the next available bed, which could be several hours away. We're live in Richmond tonight. Katie Beck for CBS 6 News. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Of help, and we're finding out more about Gus Deeds tonight, in addition to what Melissa and Katie just told us, and getting a clearer picture about the kind of person he was. Mark Holmberg will have that part of our coverage in just a few minutes.
A Liberty University student attacked a campus police officer with a hammer before he was shot and killed early this morning. That's what a search warrant CBS 6 obtained reveals. According to that warrant, 19-year-old Joshua Hathaway from Lubbock, Texas, appeared at an all-women's residence off campus at 4 a.m., telling the officer there he'd been robbed. As the officer took down the information, the warrant says Hathaway suddenly attacked him. The officer fired at least 2 shots, striking Hathaway. The incident was about 3 miles from the main Liberty campus, which school officials say were open and operating as normal today. Our affiliate WDBJ reports Hathaway had been on a full scholarship at Liberty. Both the Liberty University shooting and the Cree Deeds stabbing investigations continue to develop. We'll follow both throughout the early morning hours and have live reports all morning from Charlottesville, where Deeds remains hospitalized.
And you can always stay up to date with any breaking news by downloading the CBS 6 Breaking News mobile app. You can use it to watch videos and receive breaking weather alerts, too.
And speaking of the weather, it's getting very cold out there.
Just how chilly will it be in the morning? Let's talk to Zach.
Going to be cool, down in the low 30s. Kids are going to have to bundle up in the morning, so will everybody else that heads out early across the area. And this cool air mass is just a kind of a teaser ahead to what we're going to see this weekend. Is the coldest air mass we've seen so far this season. Moves right on into Virginia. Out there right now, we're looking at 30s and low 40s, 41 here in town. And we have high clouds out there. We've continued to see those move in from the west throughout the evening hours, and we'll see those off and on throughout the day tomorrow as well. Strong high pressure, though, is going to shift to the east tonight, and that will keep the cool weather in place for tomorrow. So a mix of high clouds and sunshine tomorrow. High of only 51. It's going to be just as cool as it was for today. But again, the much colder air is on the way. I'll tell you when that will arrive. And I'm tracking another system for Thanksgiving week. I'll cover all that in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Zach. It's the worst phone call a father could ever receive. Police telling you that your child is dead. It happened to a father Monday morning. His daughter, the young woman you see here, Ariel Shazer, ran off the side of this road while driving and hit a tree. Neighbors we spoke with say they know what could have possibly saved her life. John Burkett is live along Jessup Road in Chesterfield, where Ariel died, to explain. John.
Well, Stephanie, neighbors say these black and white reflectors you may be able to see behind me don't do any good. They say they have repeatedly asked VDOT to put up guardrails along this stretch of Jessup Road, but VDOT says not so fast. Monday's tragic scene off Jessup Road in Chesterfield County is all too familiar for folks living close by.
I don't know how many I've seen. I know there's a lot of them.
Greg Babinet has lived next to the ravine and creek where Ariel Shazer's car slammed into a tree for more than a decade. He says just a little bit of moisture and the curve becomes, quote, hell on wheels.
You get a little rain or something, that curve gets real slick. I don't know if they forget about it or what, but there's always somebody that ends up in the ditch.
Babinet, along with neighbor Amanda Ward, say they have asked VDOT to make safety improvements to this stretch of road.
There really needs to be guardrails because that's no safeguard at all.
VDOT says they did a survey and study on Jessup Road, but had to put the brakes on the guardrail idea. In a statement about their findings, they claim a guardrail would do more harm than good.
Legacy's still going to go on, even though she's not.
Meanwhile, those grieving the loss of 18-year-old Ariel Shazer are struggling with reality.
Trying to figure out, how that could happen because I taught my daughter how to drive at a young age.
A dad shouldering the weight of losing his oldest daughter, someone he swore he'd always protect.
Never want to hear that she passed away, that, that daddy's going to come to save the day. But I do it.
A heartbroken father there, Bill and Steph. Amanda Ward, who lives at the end of the driveway where I'm standing, says there is a posted speed limit sign at the top of this S-curve that suggests a 15 miles per hour speed through here. She says if VDOT can't come through with guardrails, maybe they can make that a mandatory speed limit and hopefully enforce it. Reporting live in Chesterfield County tonight, John Burkett, CBS 6 News.
Thank you, John. And last night in a CBS 6 investigation, we told you about Richmond Public Schools' aging bus fleet and the plan to replace nearly half that fleet. 60% of the buses that'll be on the roads tomorrow morning are more than 12 years old. 3 of them nearly 25 years old. So what about the school buses in Chesterfield and Henrico counties? We'll tell you what we found out in a live report tomorrow morning when you wake up. Like any good parent, you want the best for your child, especially when it comes to their education.
Some parents say good options simply don't exist, but tonight our Lorenzo Hall uncovers a hidden gem in one of Richmond's worst neighborhoods. Here's a special report on the secret school.
Krishan, where's your sweatshirt?
In my book bag. The school day for 12-year-old Krishan Hickman begins just like it does for most other middle schoolers, with a mad rush to get out the door. But when Krishan's mom sees him off,
see you later, Stank.
He does not board this school bus like his neighbors in Richmond's Creighton Court Public Housing Complex. His course to class is a bit different.
During his transition from elementary to middle, I was like, I really don't want him to go to his choice of school.
Struggling to make ends meet, Katina Hickman thought her son's only choices for a free education at the time were stark. School report cards from the Virginia Department of Education show only one of Richmond's 9 middle schools is fully accredited. Also, 6 of those 9 schools saw their standards of learning test scores drop again this year. It's not that much trouble. So instead, Krishan walks to a school you've probably never heard of. His mom hadn't.
I'm just recently finding out that it was a school.
Even though it's right across the street from her home.
Ready for big day?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it.
It's called Anna Julia Cooper Episcopal School, a small, independent, faith-based school tucked away near Creighton Court, taking its name from a former slave who went on to become a scholar and educator. The school had humble beginnings in this small house 4 years ago with just 25 students. It was pretty unassuming then, and it's the same way today. So parents generally find out about the school by word of mouth, or if the founder, Mike Maruka, actually goes knocking on doors in the public housing courts to recruit. It's a low-key method he prefers to keep his school from attracting too much attention.
Transparency to me is important. I think sometimes it can be a distraction and a temptation to take your eye off the ball a little bit and, I don't know, sell yourself, wave the flag, and we've, very intentionally tried not to do that.
AJC, as it's called for short, was developed by Maruka along with several others and placed right here for students like Krishan, with limited resources on the city's East End, where both poverty and crime rates are high. 70. All 69 of the school's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders receive full scholarships to attend because the school is fully funded by private donors and grants.
The need here is so overwhelming. And what we're doing, and this is very important to me, I do not view what we're doing as an alternative. I do not feel like we're competitors.
7 subtract 7.
Instead, Maruka says AJC is just another choice with freedoms most other schools don't have, like smaller class sizes,
Father, who art in heaven.
prayer in the school's chapel, a longer day,
That's it.
mandatory summer school, a nurturing environment, which is evident by the school dog,
All right, let's multiply.
and one-on-one attention from the many volunteers and teachers.
Let's see if she's correct.
Like Linton Wade.
When I heard everything that was going on, I was blown away by it, man. Just a tuition-free school, tuition-free private school. Like, does that even exist?
Organize your ideas first.
It sounds too good to be true, but Maruka says the school is still trying to make the grade.
I hate it when people will point at the city schools. Are all the teachers there and administrators perfect? No. Are they all perfect here? No. But what they face when they open the doors every morning is overwhelming. It's an incredible challenge.
Maruka tells us they're dealing with the same challenges as RPS, just on a smaller scale, like occasional behavioral issues. We were there when the 8th grade boys had to clean up the cafeteria after misbehaving during lunch. However, Maruka tells us the biggest challenge is in the classroom. While he says they're making significant strides there, almost all of the students come in behind grade level.
You're not saying that this is the answer. You don't know if this is the solution or not.
I take pains to make it clear that we haven't cracked the code, if there is actually a code to crack.
All right, what do we need to do?
But Maruka says what they do know is it's not just about teaching, but healing.
We talk about God.
Only 3 months in as a 6th grader, Krishan's mom has taken notice.
He's maturing a lot better than before since going to this school. He looks forward to doing, his assignments more. He just improved in a lot of different ways.
That, Maruka says, is something immeasurable and what happens after students realize they do have a choice, which consequently leads to hope.
They've seen something different and they've experienced something different, and maybe, that prevents them from making a bad choice that they otherwise might have made. Or they don't become a scholar, but they become a terrific, decent, contributing member of the community. That's, my gosh, that's a glorious ending for any of us.
2 8th grade classes have already graduated from the school. Maruka says most students get recruited with full scholarships to attend private high schools in Richmond. At this time, he says there are no plans to expand unless they line up more grants and donors. I'm Lorenzo Hall for CBS 6 News.
A big secret
yeah,
now.
we let the secret out.
Focusing now on a story we've been following since it broke this morning, the stabbing of State Senator Creed Deeds and the death of his son Gus from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The image of what happened is becoming clear, but what's not clear is who Gus was and what his life was like. Mark Holmberg has that part of our team coverage tonight. Here's his report and commentary.
Gus Deeds, like his father, loved the mountains of Virginia and the music that came from them.
Gus Deeds was 24. This past summer, he worked as a counselor and instructor at Nature Camp in Rockbridge County, a summer camp nestled in the beautiful George Washington Forest for young people interested in science and conservation. He wrote on his Facebook profile that he was interested in solitude, God, and women. His faith is a steady theme. Among his activities, worshiping Christ. Among his inspirational people, the Apostle Peter. Gus wrote that he was also into winemaking, homesteading and survivalism, video games, and definitely soccer. But along with the mountains he lived in, music called to him. He played the banjo left-handed. At William & Mary, where he had recently stopped taking classes, he was into the old-timey music club. His favorite novels and movies indicate a young man with good taste and healthy curiosity. There's no mention of substance abuse. He was famously arrested for underage drinking when he was a junior at William & Mary. There's no mention of angst about his parents' divorce and his father's remarriage to a much younger woman. There are no mentions of the personal demons he may have faced. That side of Gus, no doubt, will emerge.
Now, Creed Deeds is known as one of the good guys in state politics, just a regular Joe. I know when my own world took a bad turn, he was there with a handshake and some warm words. Now, as anyone knows who has a loved one with mental health issues, it's so difficult to get meaningful help. Now, I know, I've been there. When somebody's holding their aching head, it's so hard to get through to them, no matter how much you love them. At the state capitol, Mark Holmberg, CBS 6 News.
Again, we're learning more about this investigation and this case hour by hour. Check in with us when you wake up tomorrow morning for a live report from UVA Medical Center, where Senator Deeds is recovering.
CBS 6 Skytracker, sponsored by Baugh Auto Body.
Well, I had a chilly day out there for today, and tomorrow is going to be very much the same. We'll start you off with a look outside right now. There are Dominion Sky Tracker camera where it's 40 degrees and had a beautiful sunset tonight, thanks to some high clouds that moved into the area. And these aren't ahead of a storm system that's going to bring us any rain. This is just a little area of high, thin clouds for tonight. That will continue into tomorrow, just a very weak little area of energy. Far too dry to get any rainfall out of this, but just enough to give us a pretty phenomenal sunset. All right, let's start you off with a look now. Up top there are those high clouds to continue across the area. Still thin enough, though, to see the full moon through them. Back to the west, the clouds break up a bit. High pressure going to be the main factor as we get into tomorrow, keeping us cool. Today was cool with a high of just 54. Tomorrow will likely be a little cooler than that. So whatever you did to stay warm today, got to have to do it again as we get into tomorrow, with highs only making it into the very low 50s. Right now it's 41 degrees, a north wind at 9. Makes it feel like it is 35 out there, and just some high, thin clouds. It's down to 33 in Stanton, 35 in Charlottesville, 38 in Emporia, and 37 over in Kilmarnock. All right, for tonight, high, thin clouds will continue. That's what you're going to see throughout the day tomorrow, a mix of high clouds and sunshine. As we get into Thursday, a little bit milder. Temperatures will jump up just a few degrees, but we'll have more cloud cover around, and that cloud cover and a little bit of a warm-up will continue into Friday as well, where we should make it back up into the very low 60s. But any warm-up we see by Friday will be short-lived because of this cold front. This is Friday evening. As we get into Saturday early, some rain will move into the area, and then the cold air will push in, and this will be the coldest air we've seen so far this season. That'll arrive Saturday night into Sunday. Tonight, some 20s to the north and west, low to mid 30s elsewhere. High temperatures tomorrow are going to make it into the lower 50s across the area. High of just 51 here in Richmond, and with a little bit of a breeze most of the day, it's going to feel like it's in the 40s. So there's your Wednesday planner. 35 at 6 in the morning, 49 at noon when the kids get out of school. Still on the cool side. They'll need a jacket or a sweater all day long. Northeast wind 5 to 10. As we get into next week, I'm tracking a system currently developing in the far northeast Pacific Ocean, just off the coast here of Washington and Oregon. It's going to take the southern route. Low pressure will develop. This is your Wednesday forecast for the big travel day right before Thanksgiving. Looks like a good bet for rainfall across the southeast and mid-Atlantic, mixed precipitation up north. And then on Thanksgiving Day, the low progresses up the east coast. We see some snow developing. It looks like a nor'easter could develop, but the effects of it largely going to be felt farther to our north. Again, these things change. That system is not even in the U.S. just yet, so we'll continue to track it for you. 55 on Thursday, 64 Friday, considerable clouds both days, some rain early Saturday. It won't be a washout, but some rain early Saturday. Then it gets windy and colder Sunday, stays cold on Monday, and that system starts to bring us a chance for a little rain by Tuesday.
Thank you, Zach. A game is gaining popularity in Virginia, but with deadly consequences.
And it's been caught on camera. We'll show it to you next. The game is gaining popularity in Virginia, and we want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is disturbing. It's called the knockout game, and it involves people walking up to strangers, punching them in the face, and running off. This is video out of Northern Virginia of 50-year-old teacher James Adlisberger getting violently knocked to the ground. He survived, but police in several states say the game has killed some people.
An elementary school student in Georgia has been suspended for doing something not so smart with Smarties candies. School leaders said the 9-year-old was caught snorting crushed up Smarties. The boy's mom believes he did it out of curiosity, but she says she showed him articles online that prove that act can lead to serious injuries.
Yes, indeed. Coming up in sports, college basketball is in full gear. Both the Spiders and Cavaliers were home tonight.
And one had an easy night, the other not so easy. Elaine's got the highlights of both next.
Good evening, everyone. The best thing for any team coming off a tough loss is to get right back out and play. Losses don't come much tougher than the one the Richmond Spiders suffered Saturday night, going scoreless over the final 7.5 minutes in a home loss to Minnesota. But their next chance came tonight against Hofstra, the final game of their 4-game homestand to start the season. These two programs had not met in 20 years. First half, Cedric Lindsay gets the hoop and the harm. You're going to hear a lot of that with the new foul calls this year. He had a game-high 26, game tied early. But later in the half, Zeke Upshaw, 3 from the top of the key. He had a game-high 37, and the Pride led by as many as 11. Spiders come back behind the line. Kendall Anthony hit 3 threes in the first half. He had 18. Spiders were down by as many as 11 in the second half. They had to force overtime, but they get the win at home, 74-63. Virginia hosting Navy in the George Welsh Classic. These two programs hadn't met since 1974. First half, Joe Harris with the spin. Behind the back to Mike Tobey. He had 13 points, 8 rebounds. Who's led by a basket early. Then Harris with a drive, takes it in himself. He finished with 16. Cavs led by a half dozen. Malcolm Brogdon had 13. Anthony Gill added 18 points and 5 rebounds. No trouble for the Who's at home tonight as they roll the Midshipmen 67-42. Randolph-Macon with the home opener against Christopher Newport up at Crenshaw Gym tonight. Christopher Newport came out firing. Mike Cherry, 3 of his 19 points. That tied up the game early. Randolph-Macon answers with Connor Sullivan. Hits for 3 of his 15 points. He added 8 rebounds. This went back and forth all night. CNU's Trey Benefield. Not 3, not the easy way anyway. The hoop and the foul, he had 16. Andre Simon led all players with 25 points and 11 rebounds. But CNU had 5 players at double figures, including Evan Thorpe, who had a dozen, and the captains win it in the closing seconds, 84-83 over the Yellow Jackets. Other scores from tonight: George Mason gets a win at home over St. Francis, 58-46, and Detroit goes on the road to beat JMU, 71-67. The Hanover Hawks didn't win enough to earn a home playoff game in Class 4A this year, but they were the only team from the Richmond area to score a road victory last week. They upended the Churchland Truckers, earning them a trip to last year's Division 5 state champs Lake Taylor this Friday night. Lake Taylor is going to be getting a much different Hanover team than the one they scrimmaged back in the preseason.
And the kids are their confidence. You can come out here every week and you can see their confidence is, raising and raising and raising and raising. I mean, they came out here every day, every week. They bought into the process and they worked hard every day. And you're starting to see the things on the field.
And Derek's one of the new coaches this year. We wish him the best of luck this Friday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lane, and thanks for watching.
Remember, live reports in the morning right here on CBS 6.